Abort! The word scraped from Zex's throat. Sir? Abort the invasion! His voice cracked across 3 octaves of pure terror. All ships! Emergency withdrawal! Code black! Code black! The bridge erupted in confusion as alarms began to wail. But Zex knew it was already too late. 3 words turned Commander Zex's conquest into a nightmare. 6 hours earlier high Earth orbit. 8:15 a.m. The Hegemony Third Fleet had materialized above Earth like a plague of metal locusts. 1,200 vessels, each the size of a city block, cast shadows across entire continents as they assumed formation. The flagship Dominion positioned itself directly above North America, its massive bulk blotting out the morning sun over New York. Zex had stood on his bridge, reviewing the tactical display with practiced ease. Earth rotated slowly before him, blue and green and completely helpless. Standard class, 1 primitive world, his tactical officer had reported. No orbital defenses, no energy shields. Their most advanced vessels appear to be chemical propulsion craft barely capable of leaving their atmosphere. Population? 8 billion organic life forms. Estimated resistance capability, minimal. Zex had opened planetary communications and delivered the standard ultimatum with the confidence of 47 successful conquests. People of Earth. I am Commander Zex, of the Hegemony Third Fleet. Your world has been selected for incorporation into our empire. You have 24 standard hours to surrender unconditionally. Resistance is futile. The transmission had ended, and Zex had settled back to wait for the inevitable capitulation. He'd had no idea that deep beneath the Antarctic ice, ancient systems were already stirring to life. Tokyo Public Library, Shibuya Districtite. 52 Amelena Torres was reshelving astronomy books when the universe rewrote itself inside her skull. It started as a headache, kind she usually got from staring at computer screens too long. But this felt like something pressing against the inside of her mind, trying to break free. Elena gripped the shelf for support, and the physics textbooks in her hands made perfect sense. Not the words, she could read those already, but the concepts behind them. The mathematics that had always seemed like incomprehensible symbols now arranged themselves in her mind like a symphony she'd always known but never heard. Miss Torres? Asked Kenji, one of the library patrons. Are you all right? Elena looked at him, and for a terrifying moment, she could see more than just his face. Electromagnetic patterns of his neural activity, genetic markers in his DNA, the way his cells resonated with quantum frequencies that should have been impossible to perceive. I'm fine, she managed, though her voice sounded different in her own ears. Older. More certain. Her hands moved with practiced efficiency to the main computer terminal, accessing databases she shouldn't have known existed. Military satellites, defense networks, communication arrays that detected signals from Antarctica, proximity alert, hostile contact confirmed, initiating Shepard protocol. Elena's breath caught. Not because of the message itself, but because she understood what it meant. Not with her human knowledge, but with something deeper. Something that had been sleeping in her cells for 40,000 years, waiting for this moment. The Shepards were waking up, and she was one of them. Around the world, 1 in every 100 humans felt the same awakening. Genetic memories that had slept for millennia stirred to life, carrying knowledge of technologies that bent the laws of physics into new configurations. The children remembered what they truly were. McMurdo Station, Antarcticanine. 15 a.m. Dr. Sarah Blake felt the tremor through the research station's floor and knew immediately it wasn't natural. In 15 years studying Antarctic geology, she'd learned to distinguish between wind shake, ice shift, and equipment malfunction. This was coming from below. Far below. From the restricted zone that had been off limits since 1987, the seismic monitors showed massive electromagnetic activity. Then every screen in the station flickered, displaying text in symbols that somehow, impossibly, she could read. Beacon Station 7 is now active. Shepard protocol engaged. Ancient technology rose from hidden panels in the floor, humming with power that made her teeth ache. Equipment she'd never seen before. but her hands knew exactly how to operate, transmitting on all frequencies. An automated voice announced in perfect English, with an accent that belonged to no nation on Earth. Duration: continuous until threat neutralized. The message that filled the station made Sarah's genetic memory sing with recognition. They're already here. They're already here. They're already here. The genetic locks recognized her DNA not because she was related to the original researchers, but because she carried the same dormant shepherd genetics now awakening across the globe. A massive chamber opened beneath the ice, revealing a command center built on a scale that dwarfed anything humanity had ever constructed. Holographic displays showed tactical information from across the galaxy, updated in real time by sensors that had been placed 40,000 years ago. At the center stood a figure she recognized from old photographs. Dr. Robert Blake, her predecessor. But he wasn't the man who had made the original discovery in 1987. He was one of the shepherds who had been sleeping in genetic stasis. "Hello, Sarah," he said, his voice carrying harmonics that human vocal cords couldn't produce. "Thank you for maintaining the station all these years. You're not human, are you?" "I'm as human as you are, just the version we were before we chose to forget what we were capable of." The displays shifted, showing approaching ships that hurt to look at directly. Each one the size of a moon, moving in formations that suggested intelligence operating on cosmic scales. "The Harvest Lords," Robert explained. "Entities of pure hunger that consume entire civilizations. 40,000 years ago, we scattered ourselves across the galaxy, seeding primitive versions of our species on worlds that could support them. Earth wasn't humanity's birth world, Sarah. It was our fallback position." Sarah felt the change beginning in her own cells. "And now we're waking up. Now we're remembering what it means to be the species that killed gods." Command Bridge Dominion 2. 45 p.m. in the 22 minutes since receiving the human's response, Zex's tactical display had become a catalogue of impossibilities. Hull breaches appeared on ships throughout the fleet, but sensors detected no weapons fire. Navigation systems were being overridden by signals that shouldn't have been able to penetrate hegemony encryption. Entire vessels lost power from what appeared to be controlled shutdowns executed by someone with intimate knowledge of their technology. "Sir," reported his chief engineer, "we're detecting unauthorized presence aboard 17 vessels, but our sensors show no life signs." "Access the historical archives," Zex ordered. "Search for any references to shepherds in our conquest records." "Sub." Commander Vell's face went pale as he broke through security protocols that had been in place for millennia. When the files opened, the bridge fell silent. The records painted a picture that made Zex's species look like scavengers. 40,000 years ago, the galaxy had been consumed by war. Not between species, but between life itself and entities that existed in the spaces between stars. The Harvest Lord's cosmic horrors that consumed entire civilizations. The younger species had fallen quickly. But one race had fought back with a ferocity that defied belief. Humans. Not the primitive creatures on the world below, but their ancestors. A spacefaring civilization that had mastered technologies the hegemony was still trying to understand. They had fought the Harvest Lords across 1,000 star systems, dying by the billions to buy time for other species to evacuate. In the end, they had won. But the cost had been everything. The surviving humans scattered themselves across the galaxy, seeding primitive versions of their species on worlds that could support them. Then they waited, encoding genetic triggers that would activate if the Harvest Lords ever returned. "Sir," whispered Vel, "if the humans on that world are descendants of the shepherds, then we didn't find a primitive world to conquer," Zex finished. "We found the one species in the galaxy that knows how to fight gods." Long-range sensors detected massive gravitational distortions at the edge of the solar system. Something vast and hungry, drawn by the electromagnetic signatures of the hegemony fleet. The Harvest Lords had found them. Global Awakening 3, 0 PMA cross Earth. 80 million humans felt their genetics rewrite themselves in real time. Elena Torres found herself at the center of a vast network of human consciousness. linked by quantum entanglement that transcended normal space and time. Through their collective awareness, she could feel every awakened shepherd across the globe. Using technology that seemed to violate physics, they constructed a defense network spanning the entire solar system. Weapons, platforms materialized in the asteroid belt. Shield generators came online around population centers. Most remarkably, they did it using materials that had been hiding in plain sight for millennia. Every piece of iron in Earth's core contained microscopic machines, dormant for 40,000 years. The entire planet had been prepared as a fortress, waiting for its defenders to remember how to use it. Commander Zex. Elena's voice filled the alien bridge through speakers that shouldn't have existed. We formally offer you a choice: help us fight them, or die with them. Zex looked at his tactical display, watching red warning indicators spread across his fleet like a disease. The Harvest Lords were 12 hours out, moving at speeds that violated physics. His ships couldn't outrun them, couldn't fight them, but the humans could. "What do you need from us?" he asked. "Your ships, your crews, and your willingness to follow orders from a species you came here to conquer." Zex closed his eyes. In 47 conquests, he had never surrendered. But he had never faced gods before. Done. The Battle of Sol next day, 8:00 a.m. They came out of hyperspace like a plague of living darkness. The Harvest Lord fleet materialized at the edge of the solar system, twisted amalgamations of organic technology and cosmic horror. They moved not like ships, but like predators. Their formation suggesting intelligence that operated on scales human minds weren't meant to comprehend. But human minds weren't what they faced anymore. All stations. Elena broadcast across frequencies that reached every awakened human mind simultaneously. Initiate Omega Protocol. The first Harvest Lord vessel to enter the outer system met concentrated fire that converted an area of space the size of Texas into pure plasma. It shrugged off the attack and kept coming. So the shepherds gave it energy to consume. Specifically, antimatter meeting matter in precisely controlled reactions. The resulting explosion was visible from Mars as a new star that burned for exactly 3.7 seconds before collapsing into a gravitational anomaly that devoured everything within a 1,000,000-kilometer radius, including the Harvest Lord vessel. The human-controlled hegemony ships didn't attack the remaining cosmic horrors, they infected them. Shepherd biotechnology, carried by alien weapons systems, began rewriting the genetic structure of the entities, not trying to destroy them, but converting them, turning their hunger inward, making them consume themselves from within. It was a weapon 40,000 years in the making, and it was working. The last Harvest Lord died exactly as the first, consumed by its own hunger, turned against itself by biotechnology, crafted by a species that understood the fundamental nature of cosmic horror. The universe was free. The forgetting for 0 p.m. Elena Torres felt the genetic modifications fading from her system like a tide going out. The knowledge that had burned so bright in her mind started to dim, retreating back into the dormant state where it would wait for another crisis that would never come. Around the world, awakened shepherds returned to their normal lives. In Tokyo, Elena looked around the library and realized she could no longer read the advanced physics texts that had made perfect sense hours before. The quantum equations were once again incomprehensible symbols. She was becoming human again, and she was glad. The price of cosmic awareness was too high for any species to pay permanently. Better to be innocent children on a single world than gods who carried the weight of galactic responsibility. But they had done what they were designed to do. Commander Zex opened a channel from his research station in the outer system. "Elena Torres, we've detected the approaching fleet is withdrawing. They're fleeing toward the galactic rim at maximum speed." "Good," Elena replied, though she could feel the certainty already slipping away. "Add Sol System to your protection list, Commander. Full interdiction. Already done. And Elena?" "Thank you." The transmission ended, and Elena sat alone in the library, trying to hold on to memories that insisted on fading. 1 year later, Elena's apartment, Tokyo. Elena woke from the dream with tears on her cheeks. It was always the same: vast ships moving between stars. Weapons that could unmake reality itself. A war fought on scales that dwarfed human imagination. And through it all, the certainty that she had been something more than she was now. The dreams had started after what the media called First Contact Day, the brief appearance of alien vessels that had come and gone without explanation. She made coffee in her ordinary apartment, moving through her ordinary routine. Outside, Tokyo was waking up to another ordinary day. Ordinary. That word haunted her dreams. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Do you remember the stars?" Elena stared at the message. Something about those words made her chest tight, with longing she couldn't explain. She moved to type a response, then stopped. Instead, she deleted the message and blocked the number. Some things were better left forgotten, even if forgetting them felt like losing pieces of her soul. Deep space, edge of the local grouping. The vast darkness between galaxies, something stirred. The Harvest Lords had been scouts, sent to identify and eliminate any species capable of resistance. Their failure was not unexpected, it was anticipated. For 40,000 years, the true enemy had waited in the void between galactic clusters. The Harvest Lords had been expendable, their purpose to awaken sleeping guardians and force them to reveal themselves. Now the Watchers in the dark knew exactly what they faced, and they were coming, not in years or decades, but in millennia. When they finally reached Sol System, they would find not awakened shepherds, but ordinary humans who had forgotten they had ever been anything more, except for one detail the ancient enemies had overlooked. 40,000 years ago, when the shepherds made their bargain to become ordinary humans, they had included one final failsafe. A beacon hidden in the quantum foam connecting all consciousness. When the true enemy revealed itself, that beacon would activate, and 8 billion humans would remember, one last time, what they truly were. The children would become warriors again, but that is a story for another day. For now, Elena Torres finished her coffee and prepared for another ordinary day at the Tokyo Public Library. She had books to shelve, and somewhere in the back of her mind, dreams of stars to forget. The end.